Periscope says we're live. I'm still waiting for the official. Okay, I think we are in fact live. Hi guys, Olivia Reiner here for Packers News at lovely, chilly Lambeau Field, joined by my good friend Ryan Wood. Ryan, welcome into my show, your show, our show. We're going to wrap up momentarily the Packers' win over the Chicago Bears, 21-13. However, I think there's some more pressing news that we must first discuss. With the Rams' loss tonight to the Dallas Cowboys, the Packers have officially clinched a playoff berth. Earlier in the night, it looked like, the Packers have had their destiny in their hands, even though I guess, as I've said before, destiny in your hands is not an actual thing, right? It doesn't make sense.
That's
However,
what I've heard.
The Packers had control of their future no matter what happened over their next few games if they were able to win out. However, the Rams just did them a favor by losing, and the Packers are officially playoff bound.
Yeah, I didn't have the Cowboys stomping, even at home, stomping the Rams after the Rams just took it to Seattle. So, it's a weird league. We saw that here today, obviously. But it's a good moment, I think, to reflect on how much work has gone into getting them back to this point. The bottom line is that they missed the playoffs consecutive years with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. That just can't happen because those opportunities are precious. New GM, new head coach, 11-3, in control, as you said, of their future, their destination in these playoffs. They can get captain seat for a 2 seed. It's pretty remarkable what this season has been, no matter how the journey has been at times to get there.
Yes, as the Packers themselves have said multiple times throughout the season, the wins have been ugly. The losses, you could argue, have even been uglier. I recall that Chargers loss. However, the wins have not been very pretty. But regardless, you can't take away the 11-3 record from this team. No matter what, I think that was a big sentiment in the locker room after the game.
Yeah.
Brian Bulaga had something to say about that. Even Tramon Williams did too. This is a first-year offense, a second-year defense, and largely a lot of the same offensive players last year, but a lot of new defensive players on this team. It's a team that really was never supposed to wind up in this place in the first place, and here they are.
So we have a pretty long walk, as you know, from the press box down to the locker room. That entire time, I was kind of in my head wondering what to think of this. On one hand, they're 11-3. On the other hand, it has looked pretty ugly at times. So they're a pretty confounding team. Going into that locker room today, I wanted to know what they thought. I didn't know what I would find. A week ago, they weren't very happy with themselves at 20-15 over Washington. So what would I find here? And literally, as soon as I walk in, the first thing that you hear immediately was Zadarius Smith saying 11-3, party time. This was a very happy locker room, and they should be, because 11-3 is darn hard in this league. I don't care how it happens. 11-3 does not happen very often, and the reality is that they've positioned themselves to have a real chance at something special here. So, it's like Brian Bulaga said. I'm not apologizing for being 11-3. He said he's not hanging his head and walking out of here upset because they could have played better, even though they got the win over the Bears, their rival, second time this year, knocked them out of the playoffs. He's not apologizing for it, nor should he.
Absolutely. The 49ers lost to the Atlanta Falcons. Hello. And Mark.
Did they really?
Yes. Mark says, according to many of our commenters here, Mark says there are no easy games. This is the NFL.
Yeah.
There are truly no easy games. They're all the best football players in the world for a reason. They all play in this league for a reason. Even the worst NFL player is a pretty darn good athlete.
I'll just be honest, I think they're going to have to play better to win the Super Bowl.
Oh, for sure.
They're going to have to play better. With that said, it would be a gross overreach to say the way that they've been playing, hanging around with Washington, even hanging around with Chicago, a far inferior opponent, means that they can't. They have a chance to beat any team in this league. That's how good they are. And they position themselves to have some pretty big advantages along the way. If they can get the bye, if they can get the home field, if they can have New Orleans come up here in January on a bad field instead of having to go down there to the Dome. Those are some really big advantages. So, look, I think they are going to have to play better. They're going to have to finish. They've struggled finishing this year, especially offensively. The reality, though, is that they absolutely are in position where they can do anything that's out there. I mean, there's nothing that they can't do at this point.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the game now. Just moments ago, it feels like it just all wrapped up. I've got a question here from Brian asking, he says, I realize this can't be fixed until the offseason, but the Packers need to move on from Marquez Valdes-Scantling and Geronimo Allison, right? Well, there are several games left. There's a whole playoffs left. But yeah, Marquez Valdes-Scantling and Geronimo Allison have both struggled, especially with dropped passes. Geronimo has probably redeemed himself a lot more, and Marquez Valdes-Scantling, after that long pass from Aaron Rodgers to start the game.
Perfect pass.
It was a beautiful throw. Valdes-Scantling was not able to deliver. He did not see a target for the rest of the night. There's a lot, I'm assuming, that we do not know about his situation. I don't know what's going on with Geronimo Allison, but ever since that injury, Marquez Valdes-Scantling has not been the same player. I don't know what management is thinking. I don't think they're necessarily there yet, but there's a reason that these guys are on the field and active every single game. They're doing something in practice to show that they're capable. They just have not been producing. How long of a leash do you have if you're Packers upper management?
Well, it's clear they're not putting Ryan Grant on the field, so that's not going to be a solution. I think it's premature to give up on MVS, and hear me out because I get where you're coming from. But the season he's having reminds me an awful lot of Davante Adams' 2015 season. I mean, Davante Adams, and it's easy to forget now to most people, certainly not Davante Adams, I'm sure. He had a really rough year in 2015. The drops, the injuries, he struggled. It wasn't that he wasn't talented. He's clearly talented. He struggled. And I feel, not saying that Marquez Valdes-Scantling is Davante Adams or that he'll respond to this the way that Davante Adams did and become a number one receiver, but I do feel like Marquez Valdes-Scantling is talented. I feel like he has talent. He hasn't shown it for a while, and that drop today was, it was inexcusable. He'd be the first to tell you that. But I don't think it's a question of not being talented. I think it's a young receiver in his second season who's really, really struggling and he cannot get himself out of the rut. That reaction that he had after drop, that's a guy right there that he knows. I mean, he cannot buy a break right now. That happens sometimes, and it can go one of two ways. You can wash out of the league. That can happen. Or you can respond positively to it, and I think it's too early to know which way that's going to go.
Brett says that the wide receivers need to make those opportunities count and make those catches, especially on third down. The Packers have been all over the place on third down. Tonight they were about 33% success rate on third down, which I think they were also 33% on fourth down as well. So maybe the Packers should just go for it every time on fourth down. But 33% is not the number that the Packers want. Nathaniel Hackett, way back in the day, really before the season started going, said that 40% is what they shoot for on those third down conversions. That is what makes a playoff team. The Packers were somehow able to do it. I can tell you right now they did not average 40% on those third downs is my guess. I have not. Maybe I'll go crunch the numbers after this, but my guess is that's not where they are, but somehow they've managed to pull it off.
Well, what were they to close the game? I mean, they go up 21-3. They have a chance to one more touchdown, whatever, just close the door on their rival. And after that point, after going up 21-3, they go what? 5 of the next 6 third downs they fail to convert. It's 1 of 6 to close the game. 5 straight punts to close the game. 1 first down at that time, but the last 4 drives are 3 and out. It's going to be hard to win in the playoffs doing that. I mean, they're going to have to finish better than that. It just seems pretty obvious.
So Corey says that the Packers need to get Aaron Jones more involved in the pass game. You could always end that sentence after saying more involved, Corey. The Packers always need to get Aaron Jones more involved in the offense. Today, he ended up having around 50 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. 50 yards is nothing really to write home about for Aaron Jones, but it is worth pointing out that he was not used very much in the pass game either. He was used in pass protection quite a bit. Some mixed success there. There was one drive where he was being used with David Bakhtiari to block Khalil Mack, which, I'm sure was quite the thrill if you're Aaron Jones. I asked him about it in the locker room after the game, and he said he was very happy to have David Bakhtiari alongside him, helping him out on Mack. But yes, a little bit puzzling, again, why they wouldn't try to use him more in the pass game. I'd imagine it's a matchup thing, and Matt LaFleur liked him better just on the ground today.
Well, from what we saw today, it makes more sense than keeping him in pass pro, because there were twice he gave up sacks that he just got kind of railroaded by a blitzer. So, which to be fair to him has not been an issue this year. It was an issue early in his career, pass protection, but he's been really good in pass pro this year, really until today. And it was, I'm sure he knows, it was not good today. But, 51 yards against that Bears defense, it's not the worst thing in the world. Obviously, the 2 touchdowns are huge. The receiving end of things is, to get back to maybe not where they were in Kansas City, because that's a special night where he went off. But having more of a presence would certainly boost this offense. And, the other thing about this offense, too, I think, part of their success when they had success today, they got Davante Adams going. And they did it without forcing it to him too much. It was pretty natural and seamless within the offense. If they're able to get everything they can out of Aaron Jones and have what they got from Davante Adams today, his 4th 100-yard game of the season, I think at that point you're starting to see an offense that can do some things. But again, it's all about that consistency.
Yeah, we've got lots of folks in these comments who really enjoyed seeing Jake Kummerow with that 140-plus yard catch. He's been doing a lot of run blocking as of late. He has not been used very much in the past game as a receiver, but today we saw something a little bit different from him, which I guess isn't so different considering what he's technically here to do for the Packers, which is catch the ball. But it's been something that we haven't gotten to see as of late. Very close. It looked like he almost nearly stepped out of bounds, but upon further review, the official saw it as well. He was, in fact, in bounds. And Jake Kummerow, after the game in the locker room, said that he couldn't quite tell. He thought he was in bounds, but, he's just doing his thing out there.
Yeah, I saw it live, and I was not surprised that it got challenged, because at live I was like, he was close. But then the replay was clear, and he wasn't out of bounds. He can make plays. We saw the 34-yard catch in Kansas City. We saw the long touchdown at the end of the first half against Oakland, the play today. They're still searching, though, for a guy. Geronimo Allison had a couple plays today. Alan Lazard's had plays. Jake Kummerow's had plays. Who's the consistent playmaker? Who's the guy that can do it each week and really join Davante Adams as the obvious guy who does do it each week? That's where they're at. Whoever it is, I don't think they care at this point. Just emerge show yourself, emerge, and avail yourself to that role, because they've got to try to fill it.
Yep. Going back to the Marquez Valdes-Scantling discussion, a lot of you guys are in here still chatting about that. Antoine says it looks like that Rodgers is losing trust in Valdes-Scantling. Obviously, we don't know what is going on between the two of them. We cannot really speak on that. But what we can speak on is his targets and the fact that after a drop, we don't tend to see Valdes-Scantling, A, on the field very much after the fact, or B, just being on the targeted end of any sort of pass in his direction. And that, I think, does speak volumes.
I don't know if he's losing trust or not, and I don't know that Aaron Rodgers would ever admit to that, but if he is, it's understandable. You can't drop that pass. Not at this level of professional football. You have to make that catch. And when those things pile up, he's having a rough year. It's rough on him, because I do think he's more talented than what he's shown. He's shown that he's talented. But it becomes a psyche thing, and it's got to be tough to be inside someone like a young receiver's head when things are going bad like that, and we'll see how he responds.
All right. So I'm trying to. I see a lot of people. We're still talking about playoff seeding and whatnot. So Matt says that if the Packers win out and the Seahawks beat the 49ers in Seattle, Packers would be the number 1 overall seed in the NFC. Is that
I think you're
true?
correct. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm about 90-95% sure. Yeah, I had no idea that they lost to the Falcons. That's man, if the Packers if that happens, they owe Matt LaFleur, who was in Atlanta the last time the Packers went to the NFC Championship game, on that staff that beat the Packers. He owes Dan Quinn a really big Christmas gift, because they beat New Orleans in New Orleans this year, and now they beat the San Francisco 49ers. The Atlanta Falcons and Dan Quinn are the Packers' best friend right now. That's two remarkable wins that they've been able to get at the benefit of the Packers. So, yeah, I do believe at this point that is the case.
Yes. Mark also points out that the Vikings' Dalvin Cook left the game early today with an injury. That's very significant considering the Packers play them next week on Monday night. And for the Vikings to not have one of their biggest offensive weapons would be a big loss.
Think about the season they're having. No, Patrick Mahomes gets hurt the week before they play. They obviously didn't have to go against Cam Newton. A lot of weeks they've gotten some pretty big fortune, and you never want to root for anyone to be injured in this game. But it would obviously be a huge deal to the Packers if Dalvin Cook did not play next week. I mean, that would be stating the obvious. So. Yes. We'll see.
Don't root for injuries because injuries suck for everybody. But
don't be that person.
Yes, what a break for the Packers.
Yeah, huge.
Several breaks on both ends. I mean, the fact that they are as healthy as they are right now is mind blowing. The fact that they lost a couple of guys in this game. They lost Tyler Ervin, Tramon Williams, Blake Martinez in this game, and they all returned shortly thereafter. I mean, that's still mind-blowing. Especially
Tramon Williams. I mean, that hit he took against Cordero Patterson. Tramon Williams said he had no issue with it. And that's I think if it wasn't in today's league, that wouldn't be an issue, but it's just so rare to see high-volume impacts like that. You see that hit, you're like, oh, gosh, Tramon Williams, 36, is he okay? Yeah, he was okay. I mean, it is remarkable.
Patterson actually took to Twitter right after the game ended to, I think, air his complaints on the call. I don't know if it was the right call. I don't know necessarily. I agree with the call. However, to make a call in the moment as quick as the refs did, I think it's challenging, and I would look past that one.
I didn't get a good look at the signaling from Tramon Williams, to be honest with you. I'm just not surprised in this league anymore when high-impact collisions like that are penalized. It just seems to be the norm. Not saying that it should be, not saying it's the right thing, but it is what it is. And those type of hits usually get penalized. Now, it wasn't unnecessary roughness. It was this, signaling fair catch. But still, not surprising to me because you don't see that a lot.
Yeah, we've got Michael saying that he's glad that Rashan Gary showed out today. His first sack since the Denver Broncos game. It's been a little while. It almost felt like his first one. Denver was such a long time ago, and I know a lot of you guys that watch us often like to comment, is Rashan Gary a bust? And we always say it's early, give him some time, especially in his first season. There hasn't been a lot of positive growth trending upwards that we've seen so far this season. However, I mean, a sack will always make him feel better, I'm sure.
It's something to build on, He looked pretty good, too. His get-off on that play, he really got off the line of scrimmage. So that's something to build on, yeah.
Definitely. All right, well, for the sake of your ears there, Ryan.
Yeah, I look like a tomato right now.
Which are getting pretty red. I think we're going to wrap it up here. Any final thoughts as we leave our dear friends for the night?
I'm just proud of us, Olivia. We roughed it here.
You roughed it here. I'm going to say I was
so
prepared
no hat, no
for
gloves.
This game.
I
got gloves, hat, hand warmers. I'm wearing snow pants. You can't even see them. I'm wearing snow boots. It's not even snowing. I just knew that it was going to be cold, and I didn't want any of that.
The greatest upset of the day, really, is that I did not complain about the cold one time.
Yeah. For some reason, at kickoff or right before kickoff, when Pete and I do these live streams, it always feels colder than it does after the game, and I think it has something to do with the wind. I think the wind must die down later in the day around here. This is me. I'm not a meteorologist. I know nothing about the weather. I'm just speculating and telling you what I feel. So
I'll believe you.
So there you go. You can take notes, compare with Pete, how you guys felt, I guess. But
I'm pretty numb right now. I'm not going to lie.
Right,
I don't really feel my face.
We'll wrap this up, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back. Gosh, I don't even know. Maybe we'll have to do another live stream tomorrow or something. We'll see, because the Packers don't have practice per usual on Tuesday. They do not practice on Wednesday either. So we are off Tuesday and Wednesday. So we will not be doing a live stream on Wednesday. We'll be back Thursday, Friday. I'm assuming they're practicing Saturday to switch things up a little bit because of the Monday night game. So I don't know. We'll be back soon.
I completely
Don't worry
forgot
about
until
that.
this moment that next game's on Monday night, by the
Yeah.
way. Thank you for reminding me.
Yes.
We're
gonna
at that
be a
point in
little
the
bit
season,
different.
it's all blending together.
Don't leave
at
for
this point.
Minnesota on Saturday.
Whew, that would have been bad.
Because you don't have a hotel booked for Saturday
And don't show
night.
up here on Wednesday, which is going to feel really, really weird.
It's going to be weird. 2 consecutive days off. When's the last time that's been a thing?
Well, because the Packers had that, like the first 8 weeks, like 4 of those games were not on a regular week or something, and now it's been pretty consistent for a while. So yeah, this will be a disruption to the schedule, something they dealt with a lot in the first half of the season.
All right, well, we'll be back with you guys soon enough. Don't worry about that. Follow us on all of our social media platforms so you can get lots of updates on the Packers, on what we're up to, all of our stories. Make sure you're checking out PackersNews.com for lots of Packers content. I think that's going to do it up for all